Let's pour the tea. I desire to stack some patties over those flapjacks I was dealing with. This disease is going around, killing people, protests in the streets, and here I am like, hi, I'd like some plastic surgery, please.
Hey friends, this is the Next Level Glam podcast, and I'm Glam Gal. Thank you for joining me as I discuss all things transformation, inside and out, with my sisters in Christ. Pull up a chair, it's about to go next level.
Good morning. Welcome on into another episode of the Next Level Glam podcast with your host, me, Glam Gal. I'm so enthused that you press play to spend a little bit of time with me today. Today, I'm going to be talking about one aspect on the journey of the transformation of the body, and it has to do with the drastic change I was able to accomplish and achieve with just one round of plastic surgery. So I'm going to take you inside my round one, share the components with you a little bit, and also how it has affected the journey overall. There are a lot of pieces that I'd love to cover, but as I always say, I try to keep these episodes shorter in like digestible chunks. I know personally I have a really hard attention span, like 30 minutes max is what I can give usually. So that's why I've approached it this way. I would be here for a very long time, but I try to give you some information and some feedback. And I'm not going to lie, I've recorded this podcast a few times now because even though this topic is something that I'm very passionate about, I've been more hesitant than not on the journey to share. When I started this podcast, I knew I was going to have to be open and vulnerable about certain parts of the journey. And I wish it were always easy to just sit here and, block it all out. But the fact is, it's very personal. And it's taken me some time to kind of break down the backstory because I have had people over the last handful of years approach me or send me a message, comment on the change that they've seen and asking me for my little secret and things like that. And of course, anybody who had known it would say that it's plastic surgery, but I've never just wanted to tell people who've asked me that it's plastic surgery alone because it's so much more than that. But I am, like I said, excited to share this part of the journey because it really has been a major part over the last 4 years. So whether you're just curious about surgery or you're researching your own path towards surgery or you're looking for encouragement in the process, or maybe you're just a hater, Lord knows I have plenty of those. Welcome on in and hopefully you learn something. So without further ado, let's pour the tea, shall we? So, in order to tell you about my round one, we're going to have to take it back a little bit. Let me set the scene for you. The year was 2020. And if it has escaped your memory, let me just paint the picture of chaos, confusion. I remember the minute that crap hit the fan, I thought to myself, wow, I picked a hell of a time to go after plastic surgery. It was about February that I actually decided to take a leap of faith and book a consultation with a surgeon that I had researched thoroughly and prayed about extensively. I truly do feel like the Lord led me in my search because, like I've mentioned in episodes past, it was something I decided to take God with me on. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it alone. There were a lot of situations that needed to change in order for it to happen. So for me to go and book the consultation meant that it was going to be extremely real. I remember having this little fantasy when I booked it for my birthday, which was a handful of months away, that I would take my husband down to Chicago and we would go to the Navy Pier and share hot dogs and be excited about the consult that was going to be really changing my life. And people can, laugh about that. I can't sit here and care what other people think, but if you've listened to my story up until this point, you know that this was a beginning journey after so many other journeys thus far. This was the next place that I felt my journey had taken me, so I wanted to make it special. Unfortunately, not even a month later, the world turned upside down. If plastic surgery looked difficult to me before the shutdown, it looked impossible squared at this point. At the time, I remember feeling like the cards were stacked against me. And now looking back, I realize how he used all things to my benefit. And this whole entire process has been a complete faith building experience personally in my life. It's like all God asks us to do is believe him through the impossible situations. Yet when we're in them, we can be so fretful. And a lot of that came because I'm not where I'm at today. And it's funny because even where I'm at today, going through what I'm going through now, On the next leg of this journey, I still feel a lot of the same things where it looks impossible and I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just have the past experiences to back me up and to keep pushing me forward, if that, makes sense to any of y'all out there. At the time of the shutdown, again, my salon completely closed. I was all of a sudden at home, schooling from home through the school my daughter went through. I was trying to implement changes so I could prepare for surgery, even though I had this consult I had to go through first. I really wanted surgery amidst a time where you were stuck at home and life didn't make sense. I really was extremely stressed out. About the whole situation, to the point where maybe a couple weeks before my consultation, I reached out to the surgeon's office and left, I don't know, a message. I know I was very emotional in the message because I don't know what I was expecting from that phone call. But the first sign that I had made the good choice of the office that I did was I received a return phone call from like the sweetest angel I probably have met on my time here. She didn't know me, I didn't know her, but she was so kind and encouraging that it made me feel comfortable to follow through with that consultation appointment. And I guess before we even get started, I would like to encourage you that if you're going after surgery, make sure that the surgeon's office that you book have a staff that makes you feel like home and makes you feel cared for and have a heart about what they're doing, because it made all the difference over the last 4 years with every single appointment, every single surgery. That has been incredibly special to me. And to this day, she's someone that I follow on Instagram and try to keep in touch with, because I really feel like she's one of the people I've met and just know that they have the Lord's light. And that's something that is rare and that I just appreciate him putting in my life. It was one of those verifications for me that I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be. As I felt confident in one hand to go to the consultation, the other part, like I said, with the whole 2020 nonsense is, I live in the sticks. We have our fair share of sheeple with masks and a little bit of crazy behavior, but the more that you go towards the inner cities, it really was a spectacle to behold. It was kind of like, in one hand, you're trying to live in reality, and then this whole thing is going on that challenges your reality. It was a very bizarre thing, especially when this alleged disease is going around, killing people, and, people are divided, having, protests in the streets. And here I am like, hi, I'd like some plastic surgery, please. It was really sad to know that that whole Navy Pier hot dog moment wasn't going to happen this round for my birthday, but I was grateful nonetheless. And if you know me at all, you know that I'm not about masks or jumping through hoops. I was willing to drive down into the madness that is Chicago at that time in 2020. The fact that I was willing to wear a mask and should tell you how badly I wanted the surgery. And that was just for the consultation part. Plastic surgery was never like an easy jump from consultation to the surgery. There was always things like labs and paperwork and finances and stuff to work out. But with the new disease of the day, it added so many other hoops and so many additional stressors. I was fortunate to book that surgery about 4 weeks out from my consult. And in one hand, that was super exciting. Like, that was just, it was a part where, like, I just felt like it was time to jump and I was going to let the Lord swoop in and provide. And he definitely did. But there was still a lot I had to get done. But that's how passionate I was about getting this surgery done. There's a lot to consider. That's my point. So, as far as my round one, the surgery actually consisted of a few procedures going on at the same time. The goal was to give me the biggest, most drastic difference in one round of surgery safely. But we all knew there were going to be multiple rounds down the line, over years. And even though you leave with that understanding, there's a lot of feelings and battles that you face with each interim of the big events. I assure you that a good surgeon is going to take a lot of things into consideration. First of all, your personal foundation, your unique situation, your lifestyle, your goals. Any good surgeon is going to want to bring you through safely with good results. And I think in the episode, My Path to Plastic Surgery, I mentioned how I did research on procedures that would help my body go from like A to Z. Some of those procedures ended up on my round one as follows: Lipo 360, BBL, and a breast lift with fat transfer. Now, if you're new here to the surgery scene, I can understand how that sounds like a foreign language. And hey, we all started there. Okay. I had to start learning phrases and terms within the surgery community to garner all the research I needed to with other surgery dolls. So it's been an effort in learning, but I got your back here. I'm going to break it down for you here quick. Okay. Your girl over here was born with an everyday butt, okay? But between weight gain, weight loss, pregnancy, yada, yada, it just disappeared altogether. By the time I was looking for a BBL, I was basically working with some flapjacks. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely desired to stack some patties over those flapjacks I was dealing with. I knew growing up in the Kardashian world, there was something out there that could help me out. It was in that time of research, I discovered the BBL. And in my code, it stands for Best Booty Life. But really, what it stands for is the Brazilian butt lift. Some people hear that term and they think diaper booty on ant legs, right? But the fact is, each booty is handcrafted and each person has different desires and goals. I have seen some amazing transformations and hey, including my own. You know what I'm saying? They inspired me to book the appointment, right? So whether it's desiring a wagon or if you're somebody who just wants to fill out what's already currently there, I mean, it's an amazing procedure. And what it consists of is a couple of things, which is why it made my surgery multi-procedure. I knew myself before I walked in the doors of my appointment that I was going to have to build it from scratch, build the booty, so to speak. It was going to take time, rounds, and money, lots of money. So, just how do we build a booty? How do we make a butt where there isn't one? Well, this is where the BBL comes in, okay? And before I tell you what the BBL consists of, I want to just share that it's extremely important and it needs to be stated that you find an expert surgeon in liposculpture and BBL. Make sure that they're doing that procedure multiple times a week, that you're liking the results that they're sharing. You need to make sure that they're a master in the craft. You don't want to go to a facial surgeon that offers all kinds of services, even though he's mainly doing faces, and ask him for a BBL. You're going to be in some scary, treacherous waters there. In order to have a BBL, you need to be able to suck out usable fat. So when people are like, I wish I could suck out all of my fat and put it on my butt, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. So they use the liposuction wand to remove unwanted fat from viable areas, right? And then they process that fat into usable fat and they inject it into the desired areas. And there are a lot of different areas that you can inject the fat. And this round, I did it in my butt and in my hips. It's amazing how much shaping can actually be done. I hope to share more pictures of my overall experience on my Instagram at the Next Level Glam podcast as I feel led to. But liposuction itself has been around for decades. It's only gotten better in time, especially with some of these new up and coming surgeons. They're just getting so refined at their skills. It's an amazing thing to behold. Typically, though, like these days, when you have a BBL, like I said, you need to get the fat from somewhere. You can't have a BBL without fat. So what a lot of surgeons do these days is offer something called the Lipo 360, which is them harvesting the fat off of your abdomen, your sides, what they call the flanks, and then your back. And if you have a very generous, aggressive surgeon, which is someone who goes hard in the paint for you safely, you can harvest a lot of liters of fat off. They always take it off in liters and then they tell you how many cc's they put it back in. So you can put that fat for your BBL in your hips, in your butt, or like one or the other, you know? This is about having that conversation with your surgeon in the consultation, making sure that you're on the same page, but you want to make sure that they're going to go hard for you. Because I've done my research. I've seen people go to places like chop shops for their Groupon discounts and somebody will just like lipo like up to here and they're left with like a whole other complete issue that can't even be hidden. So it's like making sure that the doctor might take it up a little higher for you and take some other things into consideration so you're truly happy with your results and they work hard for their money. It's like having your surgeon work hard for your money. That's a great feeling because it is expensive. Like I said, it's not cheap. And I do not recommend that you go somewhere where they're just rolling you out after surgery and dumping you off, a BBL for $4,000 on spring break. Bad idea, sis. Bad idea. Like I've shared in the past, I almost went out of the country to get this drastic moment, safety be damned. I was researching it and like the Lord led me through some wisdom and was like, you can get a great BBL here near where you live, have great post-op care. And again, I can't say it enough. It saved me time and time again. So don't do that to yourself. Okay. Don't get yourself somewhere where you're going to be, exposed to careless practices that lead to scary infections, situations where doctors won't touch you because you were out of the states, having botched results, dying on the table. Yes, dying on the table. It is a risk of elective surgery. Even if you've passed the labs, it's still a risk, right? So that needs to be talked about here because with this BBL, like when they put that lipo cannula into you, a lot of things can happen, like lipo burn can happen from being too aggressive, where like then you're, having wounds to the skin. You could get a punctured organ or like all kinds of things can go wrong. Even in the best of hands, things can go wrong, and that needs to be stated too. But it should happen a lot less when you're in the right hands. And that's the other point is women will say to me, women who haven't had plastic surgery will hear about the BBL thing because of the medical tourism about somebody who died in Mexico because they wanted, a $3,000 body special. I'm not, sitting here gloating. It's really, really sad. But BBLs are a lot safer than tummy tucks. And I've heard it from people who've had tummy tucks too already, where they're like, BBLs are so dangerous. No, tummy tucks are far more fatal. And BBLs are dangerous in the wrong hands. And specifically when we're talking about puncturing organs, getting an infection, but also when they're reinserting that hopefully cleaned out usable fat into the areas that they're not getting below the area that they need to, that they're not puncturing that muscle. Because if they get fat into that muscle, it has a huge chance of becoming a fat embolism. A fat embolism, on its way to the heart, brain, lungs, and it kills people. That's a huge killer of people who are going to unsafe places, doing unsafe practices. And I want you to know that, like, of course, there's risk, but in the right hands with the right candidate, BBLs are totally safe and, again, life-changing. By harvesting unwanted fat in certain areas and replacing in desired expansion areas, you can do a huge change with just a few hours on the table and a few months of recovery. My first round, he was able to get dang near 7 liters off of me around the 360 experience. And he injected 1,700 cc's per cheek that first round. Really expanded and maxed out my hip and booty area as much as it could possibly take. And then what I did with some of the remaining fat as well, I mean, I wasn't able to use all that fat, which we call the liquid gold in that industry, because they're trying to learn how to save some of your fat, like a fat bank, because whatever fat they can't use, they have to chuck it. And fat is actually the better filler choice. A lot of girls out here like their fillers, but really fat is like the best filler ever, which is why they call it the liquid gold. So instead of tossing all of it away, I decided to use some of that fat in the other part of my surgery, which was a breast lift. So when I went into my consultation, I already knew that my girls were looking pretty heavy and just sad. They just weighed me down, During the consultation with my surgeon, he showed me the level of ptosis, which is the scientific term to describe the sagging, and it was pretty bad. There was a hole that needed to happen. You know what I mean? A whole lift that needed to happen. So I got myself, he was really cool. Usually when you get breast lifts, there's like this giant anchor scar underneath the breast for the kind of ptosis that I had. It's like usually like goes all the way underneath the breast, all the way up the breast to the nipple, and then a lollipop around the nipple. So that's like the really intense breast lift. There's a lot of variations. And like I said, it's personalized because each body, each situation is so different. So I had a lollipop lift with a reduced anchor. So he was really great. He got a lot of what needed to be done without, expanding it completely under the breast. And then I threw the fat in there. I think it was like maybe 300 cc's per boob or something, maybe, to help keep me at my like current cup size and give them like a natural look and like juicy. And that's why I decided to do the fat transfer with my breast lift. So that's what I got done on my first round of surgery. Once I was healed, it did change my life. Here's my take on the BBL that I would like to share with anyone who is considering the change, because I really shouldn't even have to explain to most of you how getting a breast lift can change your life. If you're somebody who's been rather chesty, to imagine yourself wearing a bra without looking crazy, or just so many other things, women are very more okay with doing that procedure than the BBL. So, I mean, yes, breast lift, 10 stars in the right hands, totally worth it. But I want to talk about the BBL a little bit more with the emphasis on this round, because even after all these years and how it is exploding with popularity, so many people who are misinformed about it and also have misconceptions. Like, I'm not going to lie, when I walked in, I thought I knew a thing or two. And then standing where I am at today, I can understand a little bit more. Some things I didn't really take into consideration about the journey that are just as needed to hear as the sweet spots. One thing I'd like to say and reiterate again is they are expensive. If you're getting a cheap BBL, I mean, and it works out for you, I guess good for you, but more times than not, it's going to create more expensive issues down the line or more deadly and scary issues. So just know that they are expensive. Some people will tell you that BBL recoveries are a breeze. It's not good for marketing, where surgeons want to say, it's going to take a long time to completely heal. They like to say you can get back up and at it, within a month. But trust me, most of us who process pain are going to be in discomfort for quite a few months. There's a lot that is entailed into the recovery aspect, which is why it needs its own episode. Whole lifestyle that I just can't get into today. But because I had an aggressive surgeon and had a lot done at the same time, I would say that at 3 months, I was starting to feel back to normal. And at 6 months, I was able to pick up on my workout routine. So it definitely changed life there in a different way for quite a bit of time. Just know that you have to be in it for the long haul. What I mean by that too is not just the recovery process, but that there's a strong possibility that it's not just one and done. A lot of people think they just want one round, but then they, get their toes in the water, right? And they're just like, I want more, or something needs to be tweaked, or something needs to be fixed. Specifically with Lipo 360, there are a lot of times, even on some of the skinniest women, where they experience loose skin in areas that they didn't, that they want addressed. Or if you are bigger like me and you had lipo, you're going to have lots of loose skin to deal with, which any good surgeon is going to walk you through anyway at your consultation. But I want you to be prepared for that, because it's not a magic wand situation. There's that whole realness behind the initial investment and the initial surgery. It's kind of like shaving your legs. Once you start, you can't stop. With that, also, you need to keep your expectations at a reality check. Like I said, I have had several rounds of surgery, and even after all this time, there's still things that I need tweaked and fixed. And it's really hard, even though I look better and I feel better than I ever did. I have down days just like everyone else, which is why if you're someone who struggles with body dysmorphia now, that's not going to be cured with surgery. I have some days where I'm just like, yes, this is awesome. And other days where I'm like, I'm just having a bad body day. And I kind of have to stay out of the mirror those days and do the things that encourage a great result, meaning eating healthy, exercising, other various other things we'll go over again in the future on the podcast. But I want you to know that whether it's like loose skin, stretch marks, or perhaps like cellulite, BBLs do not help cellulite. Some people don't notice a difference if it's worse or better. Some people, though, for sure, it makes it worse. So it's one of those things where, it's not going to hide your cellulite. Like I said, even if you go into surgery knowing that it's going to be a process, there's just highs and lows along the journey where you didn't realize how much it was going to take to keep moving forward and believe that it's going to get better in time as you keep going after your personal goals. It's hard not to see what you want to see the minute you get surgery, after everything that you went through, all the pain, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and cutting that fat check, this whole expectation we have. Just make sure that you have a solid grip on that. That being said, though, those are the real aspects I'd like to have you consider as you research your BBL, if that's something that you're feeling led to do. But in general, what I would like to say is that the BBL has given me a confidence that far surpasses any of the bad days that I do experience. When I try on clothes, more oftentimes than not, they look more like I'd like them to look than what they ever did. And it's just nice to go into your closet, throw on some, jeans and a shirt and look like you'd like to look like. It's not even about the crazy outfits and things like that. It's really about the everyday life boost that it gives you. It also has kept me pushing for workouts and bettering my health because A, I want to take care of this very expensive investment I made, and B, I want those heightened results. I want the best that they can be. I personally wouldn't go back and change anything, especially about that round one. It's only added to the person I am today, the confidence that I have. And every day I enjoy a taste of the best booty life. And I'm just grateful to have had the opportunity to go and have it done. I know it's a privilege that not everybody can do. And like I said, it's taken a lot of time, healing, and money to ride this train. No doubt about it. It's the most expensive investment you can ever make on yourself. And I haven't had a chance over the 4 years to go to Navy Pier and have a hot dog with my husband to celebrate. But I think that when I'm done with this chapter in plastics and going to Chicago, to keep at it, that will be our celebration to end that part of the journey. And it's something that I'm kind of looking forward to. We can't forget about each part of the journey because even looking back, the research phase started and I was researching the procedures and researching the surgeons and the possibilities. That was really exciting, even though I hadn't had surgery yet. And then you have the surgery, and that part's exciting despite all of the chaos, right? And the healing and the recovery. And each part has a special place in the story. And it's important for us to honor it and kind of be aware of the now that we're going through today, because it's not always going to be that way. As much as having surgery is very intense, when you're somebody who's passionate about it, you get really excited about getting on the table again. Obviously, when you wake up and real life hits you in the face, you're in a whole new trench. But it is a very exciting thing to know that as you're accomplishing your goals. The case in the point, though, is I highly recommend looking into it if you relate to anything that I've said in this episode. I would like to know personally, A, have you had any plastic surgery? Have you had a BBL? I would love to know your feedback, your experience, all of that. Be sure to come over to my Instagram at the Next Level Glam Podcast. Drop me a comment. Send me a DM. If you have any questions to have answered here on the podcast, shoot me a DM, whether it's about any topic that I share about here in general at the Next Level Glam Podcast. I'd love to have your engagement. Really looking forward to sharing more about this topic as time goes on the podcast. And I hope you'll join me next week for a completely new episode on a different topic, because I like to keep things fresh around here, keep things moving, but I hope to see you there. And until the next episode, guys, continue to grow and rest in His grace. Much love, y'all.